The voice of sharing. 旅人ASEAN.
ASEAN Breakfast Call. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, good morning everyone. This is Gowri.
And yes, first and foremost news from Southeast Asia we are going to bring you at our ASEAN Breakfast Call.
News
today.
commentary.
So the first news, it's not really news, but just an update about the ASEAN Games, which is happening right now in Incheon.
Yes, it's been happening in Incheon, and we have here the medals table with over 18 countries from all over Asia, actually, not just in ASEAN. And sadly, Malaysia is not really... we are in the top 10. Maybe we have that.
We are ranked number 9,
just
just good enough to be in the top 10. And what is above us, surprisingly, is
a lot of countries.
I don't want to mention it, but I have to mention it. Countries that are performing better than us. One of it is actually North Korea.
Yep.
You wouldn't expect North Korea with very few facilities, such a closed country. Probably sports is not their main focus, or it is, I'm not sure. But what is obvious is South Korea is better than us. How could that be?
And even Vietnam is actually 2 spots above us. Directly above us is Chinese Taipei. It's interesting that they put it that way. But what we have...
there's another word for Taiwan.
Yeah. That's why I said it's interesting that they didn't want to put Taiwan in it.
It has always been Chinese Taipei when it comes to international sports event. This is, as you all know, the historic event of China wanting Taiwan to be part of China, so they don't recognize Taiwan as a country internationally.
And we don't want to be too pessimistic here. We don't want to bash Malaysia too much. But the fact is Korea is up in the first spot with 12 gold medals as opposed to us. And we only have 1 gold medal, 1 silver medal, and that gives us a total of 2. Whereas if you look at the top 3 countries, they have at least 25 medals in their possession.
Currently, the top 3 countries that are garnering all the medals is number 1 spot is Korea with 31 total medals, but they have more gold and silver medals compared to China. China is on the second spot at 32 total medals, but it has more bronze medal than gold and silver. And the top the number 3 spot is Japan with 26 medals. It's irony that Korea is above China, partly because it's in Incheon right now.
And we need to ask Kyrie probably for his opinion on what is happening to our level of sportsmanship, what's happening to all our athletes. Yes, we do have a few notable ones. We have Chong Wei, we have Nicole David, we have Pandalela, but it cannot just be about these 3 people to always bring back the gold medals. We have to focus on producing more quality athletes so these people can go out and win medals for us as opposed to just always focusing on the usual people to do it.
On the positive side, at least we are doing better than our smaller sister Singapore. And also, of course, we are doing better than Indonesia and India, surprisingly. India only managed to garner 4 medals and only 1 gold and 3 bronze, whereas Indonesia only managed to score 2 silver and 1 bronze without any gold.
You're being really nice, but I beg to differ. I think Malaysia really needs to buck up and start working really hard because being in the 9th position with 2 medals, that's not how we want to project ourselves to the world. We are Malaysians, Malaysia Boleh. We are capable of a lot more than this.
Where's the Malaysia Boleh spirit, especially in the 90s?
It's gone with Milo.
What another mention that is interesting is about the World Cup, also another sporting event. Apparently, Qatar will not host 2022 World Cup. that's so far ahead in the future.
Even in the previous World Cup, there were a couple of mentions that Qatar is too hot, the weather is crazy. Even John Oliver mentioned it in his amazing
That's a
description
good mention
of
of John
FIFA.
Oliver of all the
And,
people that you
yeah.
mentioned.
Well, but I guess in the end they did derive at the conclusion that Qatar is a terrible, terrible place to have World Cup because the players will be under the scorching heat of the sun, and that is not healthy at all. Even previously in Brazil, they had to take a water break, which never happened before.
Interestingly, that is not a good enough excuse. They would have knew it the moment they put Qatar as part of the nominees for the World Cup host. But they choose Qatar, and only recently they felt that Qatar shouldn't be part of
Qatar was trying to convince them at first, saying that we can come up with all this cooling technology, we can cool the stadium, we can cool this, we can cool that. But that is just going to take up more money, and it's all going to go to waste. And it's not just about cooling the stadium.
Qatar has a lot of money.
Yeah, and what about people who are traveling all over the world? You're going to cool them too? You're going to cool the airport?
The real excuse that I think would be more valid is the forced labor. A lot of complaints by human rights advocates that a lot of cheap laborers, especially from the, neighboring countries, were being used to construct the stadiums, and they are not being treated properly in terms of their lifestyle, in terms of the way they work. They have to work long hours. They are being practically slave to death, some of them. So that would be the proper excuse why Qatar should not host the 2022, and it's not because of the heat.
Of course, that is a very valid point. The human rights issue, the modern slavery, and also the medical team even didn't want to be there. They told Qatar that this is too risky, too dangerous for us, and we're afraid that if something happens, we will not be able to do anything about it. So it's a lot of excuse actually, and they're all valid, and they have to look for a new location now, and we'll have to see which is the new country that will be hosting the World Cup 2022.
So talking about moving location, we usually would think about flights, going from one destination to another destination. And guess what? ASEAN flights are getting the green light for unlimited Jakarta flights.
This is great for the ASEAN 2015 community, where we're supposed to be transboundary and a lot more accessible to all the ASEAN countries. And the move follows a campaign which started about a decade ago to get all the 10 ASEAN nations to remove all restrictions on flights from their countries and to push to become one aviation market, similar to the EU's single sky. So we are definitely heading in the right direction towards our ASEAN 2015.
And besides Indonesia, Philippines' capital Manila is the only other ASEAN capital yet to join the agreement, although the country has already moved restrictions on flights to other cities. And it seems like we are definitely moving towards a single sky, with all the ASEAN countries trying to liberalize the airspace and also to liberalize the market access to cities and to support ASEAN single aviation market ambition. So the ASEAN Economic Community 2015 is definitely moving forward towards the right direction with liberalization of the sky.
And Singapore should definitely follow suit and just demolish whatever causeway toll that they're planning to have, because we are heading for ASEAN. We're heading to be an
Perhaps
entire...
they need the money,
Singapore doesn't need the money. I'm probably being too biased here, but we know Singapore doesn't need that money. We probably do, but it's a lot more important to focus on this ASEAN mission, where we want to make it accessible for all the countries. We don't want people to start going, oh, it's too expensive to go to Singapore now, I will not go there. It's going to be bad for them, for their economy, for their tourism industry.
Well, if you look at statistics on tourism, majority of the tourists that comes to Malaysia are Singaporeans. So if they are charging high toll price, probably the ones that will suffer is their own people, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why it will probably affect them even more if they impose those charges as opposed to us.
Talking about liberalizing the market economy, do you know that Malaysia is ranked second most attractive market for infrastructure investment? And it seems like Malaysia has been ranked second among 41 countries of the most attractive market for investment in infrastructure. This is according to the Arcadis Global Infrastructure Investment Index. This is a good news, isn't it?
It's a very good news, and also combined with our goal of high achieving income nation status by 2020, which is our Wawasan 2020. Plans are already underway for specific cities and urban clusters under the Greater Kuala Lumpur Klang Valley to be developed into a vibrant, productive, livable cities that are comparable to other major cities in the world.
So far, the most livable city in the world is Melbourne. And Melbourne is definitely most livable, partly because of the climate, the infrastructure, the lifestyle is very relaxed, but at the same time you feel energetic and enthusiastic, and it's definitely perfect for singles as well as for families. With Malaysia being one of the best in terms of investment infrastructure, we look forward towards a better infrastructure development, especially mass transportation. If the government is focusing on Greater KL, infrastructure should be number one investment. And this is definitely moving towards the right direction. But coming from Bernama, could it be something that similar to what is reality on the ground?
And Richard Warburton is probably being a little too idealistic in this sense, because his analysis is only based on the population growth rate. Yes, the population is increasing, and that calls for a new infrastructure, but that doesn't guarantee that we are going to be another productive and vibrant, livable city, because we do know, unfortunately, that KL has been ranked as one of the dangerous cities to live in. So we probably have a lot more to look at instead of just the population growth rate in the city.
And also, this is what he mentioned. Another one more point is a key difference that they have seen in ASEAN markets like Malaysia and Singapore is that they have clear integrated strategies that tie the infrastructure development plans to business and economic objective. This is very wordy when it comes to what he's saying, but from the angle that we can see is, he said he definitely see that the countries within Southeast Asia, especially Malaysia and Singapore, they are moving towards a clear integrated strategy in terms of all the structures and all that. And this is proven with the goal of the Greater KL, where there will be high-speed trains and all the different infrastructure to connect between Malaysia and Singapore.
And this also goes back to the 10th Malaysian Plan. And we do have a budget coming up next month, don't we?
Next month, the government will be announcing the budget. And it will be a very hype-up event next month for people to talk about it. It will be on the 10th. On the 10th of October, isn't it? And talking about budget, so currently the state that is having the most
money.
Yeah, I guess that's the right word, money.
It is the richest state in Malaysia.
It's Selangor. And Selangor is having its own fiasco, which hopefully it will be an end. We hope.
Yeah, it will probably be ending, and we will have a more thorough analysis later on. But for now, just to update everyone, if they don't already know, Asmin Ali is our new Selangor MV. Big round of applause. Yay. And he has not been sworn in yet, but he has received his letter from the Sultan of Selangor. And he also said that the party has unanimously endorsed him as the new Selangor Menteri Besar. And Asmin was among the 3 candidates that were so-called interviewed by the Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah last week to assess their suitability for the post. And of course, we also know that the other candidates were Wan Aziza as well as Iskandar Abdul Samad, but in the end it was Azmin Ali who takes the win, and he will be sworn in as the new MB.
Seems like this is a right time and right place for him. He has always been eyeing for that job, and this is interestingly a way for him to get into the job. A lot of people were talking a lot of matters regarding on Wan Aziza, whether she will get the job or not, whether she's suitable or not. Either it's because of her gender or her link with Anwar as the wife of Anwar, or maybe she's not having the experience that is required as the Menteri Besar.
And also, don't forget, she's got this menstrual cycle, which is a huge problem.
There's the gender issue that that a lot of people are talking about, why she can't hold the job. And maybe I'm being a bit biased. I have to say that, being a woman, I would definitely want to see a woman MB. So I'm a bit crushed that there's no woman MB on the as the post. Talking about Azmin Ali, we will definitely analyze further whether Azmin Ali is suitable for the job or not. But on the other hand, yesterday was Khalid Ibrahim's last day.
It was, and he did do something a little dramatic before leaving the office. Would you like to have the pleasure to say that? You sounded really excited.
Well, on his last day, he did one of the best things that ever happened to him, which is he sort of stripped the post of economic advisor from Anwar Ibrahim. So the spot of economic advisor for Selangor is not needed. It will definitely put a cost on Selangor, and he felt that Selangor government can do a better job at in terms of having its economic achievement for for the state without having an economic advisor.
And they were also questioning the way he was spending the money, as well as how much he's paying himself for the salary, what are his allocations for the different elements in his administration. And now it's totally scrapped, so Anwar is technically out.
And regarding on the Menteri Besar crisis, it's perhaps the election of Azmin Ali will put a stop on the crisis itself. But, as much as people want to criticize Wan Aziza, they have to realize that Azmin Ali has zero experience in terms of governing anything, isn't it?
Yes, well, at least Wan Aziza has experience being with PKR before. And
I mean, he's also part of one of the top, holding one of the top position in PKR. But if you are talking about governing a multiracial state like Selangor, where money is on the hand of the state government, is definitely something that Azmin Ali is lacking in terms of experience. But ironically, nobody is talking about that. Nobody is complaining, is Azmin Ali suitable for that job? Will he have his own menstrual problem?
Well, we probably don't want to criticize the Sultan's decision, but we probably will do a little analysis later on to see where this could be heading for Selangor now.
Well, where could this be heading for Indonesia would be another matter altogether. So Indonesia's new government, as we all know, Jokowi will be holding office in November, and with that, he wants to focus on national security issues in terms of trying to hike up its economic growth. As we all know, Southeast Asia is also having a problem of Islamic radicalism. And it's not just a Malaysian thing, but it's throughout Southeast Asia, and in particularly Indonesia, since it's a majority Muslim country.
And he is trying to focus on tackling the national security while also putting in efforts to achieve a 7% economic growth in 3 years. And he has also made a couple of unpopular decisions regarding the economy, and one of it is to cut the fuel subsidies. And that is a very controversial decision.
It is never popular when you cut fuel subsidies.
Even in Malaysia, we're never happy when it comes to fuel subsidies.
A 20% hike is like a major no-no. And when it comes to Jokowi, so he plans to do that, but partly because of his popularity as the new clean president, maybe he will be able to pass that.
Yes, but he is going to announce the details actually next month after his inauguration, and he is going for a 55% fuel hike, which is expected to actually save the government about US $14 billion next year, and more than 20 billion the year after.
US dollar 14 billion next year.
Yeah.
And 14 billion US dollar is a lot of money to save fuel. To save money on fuel is definitely the most important thing for Indonesia. And in fact, the climate march, as you all know, that had happened in New York, is in Southeast Asia. Indonesia was the center of the climate march, and Indonesia is definitely looking towards more sustainable energy in terms of producing, and also using more greener energy for its own people and population. So when it comes to Indonesia, are you optimistic about it? Because I am.
Well,
I'm optimistic about
Jokowi is
it.
actually going for a long term. He's not trying to come up with short term solutions and trying to make the people happy. And such long term decisions will always, of course, will be unpopular, will cause maybe dissatisfaction among the people. But according to what we have here, it seems that he has a pretty clear idea. He has all the maths done. He knows how much this is going to save the country, how much this is going to save. And he also has this vision to reform the entire economy to achieve a 7% growth by 2017. And after going through all this, I'll probably be pretty optimistic as well that he will be successful in bringing about the change that he's envisioning too.
Another issue that he wants to solve is, of course, environment. As you all know, when it comes to haze, Indonesia is one of the major culprits for haze, and you want to have a good economic growth, you have to tackle the other issues of haze, issue of radicalism of religion, and also, like we mentioned earlier, the issue when it comes to trying to go towards towards unpopular move of reducing subsidies. Another area that we want to talk about is a new president has been elected. Should I call it president or prime minister? In Fiji.
It's actually prime minister. And yeah, we rarely touch on Fiji, and anyone ever rarely talks about it. And it seems that they have had an election. Their country's first democratic election in 8 years.
8 years.
And they have
That's
a new
almost a
prime
decade
minister.
ago.
It is. So they have a new prime minister now, who is Boreke Bainimarama, which is an interesting name. And he will now be heading the country. And just to look a little bit at Fiji's politics, actually, it's they came to their independence in October 10, 1970, and became a self-governing nation within the Commonwealth. But then, of course, there was a military regime, and they had the problem with the coup as well.
But you know, the new prime minister, he is in fact a former military strongman. So they still have that military shadow behind them, even though they are democratic and they have an elected prime minister.
It's pretty much a parallel situation to Thailand, even where the military do have a strong say with what's happening in the country and all. But of course, they've actually the only difference is they have moved on from that. They are not stuck in the coup, the military era. They are going for a democratic election now, and they have someone who emerged victorious as the new prime minister. And
their issues are. I mean, when you talk about politics and society, the issues in Fiji is no different than us, other than they are an island nation. They also have racial tension between the indigenous Fijians and ethnic Indians. So that's pretty unique. And another area that they want to improve is in terms of tourism economy. They also want to win favors such as providing free education for its people, and of course improving infrastructure in the rural area. In an island nation, their reality might be different than probably countries like Malaysia and Indonesia.
So we'll probably be hearing a lot more from Fiji now with their new prime minister, and we'll have to wait and see what are his foreign policies towards ASEAN or all the Asian countries in general. And all the best for them, and good luck. I mean,
perhaps we will hear more news from Fiji. Now
Yep.
it's democratic and it's trying to improve its.
and maybe they can try and teach Thailand a thing or two about how to move on from the military coup towards a democratic election.
Mhm. With that, this is all we have for our news today. Thanks for listening to us. You can always go to Facebook and Twitter to comment or to contact. To comment to us or to share some of your views.
And don't forget to like us, of course. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can tune in to us at durianasean.com. Or if you're on the move, just download our TuneIn app on your mobile phone and look for Durian ASEAN.
That's all from today. This is Arlene signing off.
This is Gowri. Bye bye.